Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Our topic is arterial supply of the upper limb. The objectives are describe the axillary artery and its relations and list the branches of axillary artery, discuss the arterial anastomosis around the shoulder joint, describe brachial artery, its relations and branches, discuss the arterial anastomosis around elbow joint, discuss the radial ulnar arteries with their relations and branches, and finally we will talk about describe the formation of superficial and deep armor arches. We start with the axillary artery, which is the main artery of our upper limb. It begins at the lateral border of the first rib as a continuation of subclavian artery. So axillary artery is the continuation of subclavian artery at the lateral border of first rib. So before the lateral border of the first rib, it is named as subclavian artery, and then after crossing the lateral border of first rib, it becomes axillary artery. These names are given according to the areas they are passing or from where they are passing when they are present in the base of the neck region near the clavicle. They named as subclavian, and when it reaches to the axilla, it named as axillary artery, and it ends at the lower border of the teres major muscle by continuing as brachial artery. From axilla, it enters into the arm, and as we have already discussed previously that the area of arm is known as brachium. So from that term brachium, the brachial artery arises. So the axillary artery ends at lower border of teres major muscle by continuing as brachial artery. So that is the extent of axillary artery. Outer border of the first rib is continuous and ends at lower border of teres major. And the muscle of the pectoral region known as pectoralis minor muscle. It crosses in front or anterior of the artery and divides into three parts. So these parts are only named for our understanding, that it is easier for us to identify them in terms of their relation. So pectoralis minor is a good landmark which is passing in front of the artery and dividing this artery into three parts. So as you can see here, this is the pectoralis minor muscle arising from the ribs and going towards the thoracic process. So here we can see the subclavian artery passing just below the clavicle, and this is our first rib. So when it reaches at the outer border of the first rib here, lateral margin, now from till here it is subclavian artery, and now it enters into axilla, so its name changes to axillary artery. It goes down, and when it reaches to the lower border of the teres major muscle, it becomes brachial artery and enters into the arm region. So this is our brachial artery. Now pectoralis minor muscle divides this artery into three parts for the purpose of description. It passes anterior to the artery. So the part between the lateral margin of the first rib till its upper border, or you can say medial border, this is the first part. That part of the artery which passes below the pectoralis minor is the second part, and that part which is between the lateral or inferior border of the pectoralis minor till the teres major, that is the third part of axillary artery. This is first part, second part, and third part. First part before the muscle, second part below the muscle, and third part after the muscle. These are the three parts of axillary artery. So the first part of axillary artery, the relations, because pectoralis minor is overlapped by pectoralis major, which is a bigger muscle, So anteriorly pectoral major is present. Posterior to the first part we have long thoracic nerve or nerve to serratus anterior. Laterally we have three cords of brachial plexus and medially we have axillary vein. So out of these relations, the important thing that this is the most fixed relation of axillary artery, that axillary vein remain medial towards pores as compared to the other relations which are changing as we go ahead. So anteriorly we have pectoralis major, posteriorly we have long thoracic nerve, laterally we have all the cords of brachial plexus, lateral, medial and posterior, and medially we have axillary vein. The first part gives only one branch, that is known as highest thoracic artery. It is also known as superior thoracic artery. So as we are discussing the second part of axillary artery, anteriorly pectoralis minor is present and pectoralis major is present. As we have said that part of axillary artery which passes below pectoralis minor is the second part. So pectoralis minor and major both are lying anteriorly. And now the relations of the brachial cords or brachial plexus cords changes, and every cord lies on their corresponding area. So posterior cord of brachial plexus lies posteriorly, lateral cord lies laterally, and medially cord along with axillary vein lies medially. So the relations in the second part changes. The second part gives two branches, thoracoacromial artery and lateral thoracic artery. So as we have discussed, first part only one branch, highest or superior thoracic artery. Second part two branches, thoracoacromial artery and lateral thoracic artery. This artery is mainly taking part in anastomosis around the shoulder joint, and this artery already we have discussed that it is a major supply for the female breast. The third part of axillary artery, again anteriorly pectoralis major lies. Now posteriorly subscapularis, latissimus dorsi and teres major are present, and laterally we have lateral cord of brachial plexus and medially we have medial cord of brachial plexus along with axillary vein. So here the anterior posterior relations are changed, and the third part gives three branches: subscapular artery, anterior and posterior circumflex humeral arteries. So these are the three branches: subscapular, anterior circumflex humeral and posterior circumflex humeral arteries. So first part gives one branch, second part gives two branches, and third part gives three branches. So here we can see this is our subclavian artery, this is axillary artery. So first part gives the branch which is known as this one, superior thoracic artery or highest thoracic artery. The second part gives thoracoacromial artery, and the other branch which is going down is the lateral thoracic artery, and the third part gives anterior and posterior circumflex humeral and subscapular. So subscapular and anterior and posterior circumflex humeral branches are the branches of third part. They are named as anterior and posterior circumflex humeral because one is passing anteriorly, another is passing posterior to the humerus, and they are whirling around or making a circumferential move. That's why they are known as circumflex, anterior and posterior circumflex humeral. And as the lower border it descends, it becomes brachial artery. So that was about the axillary artery and its branches and extent. Now we will talk about the anastomosis taking place around shoulder joint. Now it is very much important to know that when we say anastomosis, it means that we are talking about connection or joining of more than two arteries. That is anastomosis. Mostly we use the term anastomosis for the arteries and plexus for the nerves and even for the veins. So anastomosis means we are talking about the branches of the arteries united together. And why this anastomosis is present around the joints? Because joint is the area of the body which is a movable structure as compared to other parts of the body. Rest of the body parts are almost fixed. Only movable area of the body are the joints. So around the joints mainly this type of anastomosis is taking place, or other part of the body where these anastomosis are taking place are the different systems of the body where we need a good supply of blood. That inshallah we will discuss in gastrointestinal tract in detail also, and already you have talked about in the cardiovascular system, in which right and left coronary arteries are moving at their terminal ends. So what they do, they by the help of this anastomotic channels or other collateral channels, we have an extra pathway of the arteries. So if one of the arteries is blocked, because of their connection with the other routes, blood can still reach to the area through the other pathway. That's why anastomosis is important. So if we have a block in the axillary artery, one of the branch, so if it is anastomosed with another artery, so blood will pass through the other artery. So the anastomosis around shoulder joint is taking place between the branches of subclavian artery and the branches of axillary artery. There are two branches of subclavian artery, suprascapular artery and superficial circumflex artery. These arteries anastomose with the branches of subscapular artery, anterior circumflex humeral artery and posterior circumflex humeral artery. These are the branches of third part of axillary artery which anastomose with the branches of subclavian artery to make a anastomotic channel. So here we can see this is our axillary artery and here we have subclavian artery. So the branches of subclavian artery anastomose with our anterior and posterior circumflex humeral arteries. If you can see here, and also there are some branches which are known as acromial branches, which mainly supply the acromion process. So these branches are further dividing into acromial branches and give supply to the acromion process. Along with that, you can also see that branches from the subclavian artery are descending down towards the medial border of the scapula and give branches to the dorsal aspect, as well as branches from the circumflex scapular artery, which is a branch of subscapular artery. Also give branches which are anastomotic with the branches of subclavian artery. So a massive anastomosis is taking place between the subclavian and axillary artery branches to provide a good circulation at shoulder. The second artery of the region is brachial artery. It begins at the lower border of Trees major muscle as a continuation of axillary artery. So where axillary artery ends, brachial artery begins. And just at the opposite the neck of the radius, the brachial artery terminates or divides into two branches, radial artery and ulnar artery. In the relations of brachial artery, anteriorly it lies below the coracobrachialis and biceps muscle. So if we see the relation of the muscles in the anterior compartment of arm, we have coracobrachialis, then we have biceps, and below them we have brachialis muscle. So brachialis is the most deeper muscles in the anterior compartment. So it lies between the coracobrachialis biceps as well as brachialis. So it is sandwiched between biceps and brachialis. So brachialis lies posterior to the artery. So we can say the brachial artery rests or lies on the brachialis, and most posterior relation is the triceps, which is in the posterior compartment. Laterally we have the median nerve and coracobrachialis also, and medially we have ulnar nerve and xeric vein, which is a vein of the upper limb. Branches of brachial artery, we have many muscular branches. So now one thing which is important regarding the muscular branches, that if we are talking about the branches of a nerve, we should know a single branch which is supplying the muscles by its name. An individual branch we should know, but because the arteries are supplying the region and they are supplying many of the muscles, so we don't name these branches by the name of the muscles. Like we talked about long thoracic nerve, which is the nerve to serratus anterior. But here, if the branch is going to supply the serratus anterior muscle as an artery, we don't say arterial branch to serratus anterior. We just say muscular branches. The brachial artery gives muscular branches to the anterior compartment muscle because it is passing through the anterior compartment of arm. It gives a nutrient artery to the humerus. So in foundation in the bone lecture you have talked about nutrient artery. That artery will supply nutrition to the long bones, that is known as a nutrient artery, which passes through a foramen known as nutrient foramen into the shaft of the bone. The nutrient artery of the humerus, then a very large branch or the largest branch of the brachial artery, one of the is known as profunda brachii artery. Profunda means deep, brachii for the arm. So profunda brachii artery is the deep artery of the arm, which is actually supplying the posterior compartment of arm. And then it gives two other branches known as superior ulnar collateral and inferior ulnar collateral arteries, which are basically taking part in anastomosis around the elbow. So superior ulnar and inferior ulnar, as the name are indicating, that it is superior and this is inferior. Ulnar means they are both are on the ulnar side or the medial side, and collateral means those branches which arise from the parent artery and then run parallel to the parent artery. That is known as collateral branches. That an artery arises from a parent artery and then run parallel to the parent artery. That is collateral. So superior ulnar collateral and inferior ulnar collateral are the branches of brachial artery. So here we can see the brachial artery, which is running down and lies over the muscles already we discussed, brachialis, and when it reaches opposite the neck of the radius, it divides into two terminal branches, radial as well as ulnar. It gives humeral nutrient branch to the bone. It gives a major branch known as profunda brachii artery or deep branch of the arm, which runs in the radial groove and passes to the posterior compartment of arm to supply. And then we can see it gives a branch which is running parallel with the parent artery, superior ulnar collateral, and at the lower level as inferior ulnar collateral. These are the branches of brachial artery. The rest of the branches which are here we will discuss in the next few slides. Now, anastomosis around the elbow joint. Anastomosis occurs between the branches of brachial, radial, and ulnar arteries. So, the parent artery and its terminal branches anastomose again with one another to provide a collateral circulation to the elbow joint if there is a blockage to one of the major arteries. So, branches of the brachial artery are profunda brachii artery, superior ulnar collateral, and inferior ulnar collateral. These are the three branches which takes parts anastomosis around the elbow joint with the branches of ulnar and radial arteries. These branches are radial and ulnar recurrent arteries and posterior interosseous recurrent arteries. Recurrent means that if an artery arises from the parent artery and it not move forward but it runs backward opposite to the direction of its parent artery. So that is known as recurrent arteries. So radial and ulnar recurrent and posterior interosseous recurrent. So now we can see the branches from the Vanda brachii as well as superior inferior ulnar collateral arteries are running downward, and here we can see branches known as anti-ulnar recurrent. So these branches which are taking origin from the ulnar, but this is the parent artery, so they are not taking origin after taking origin going forward, they are going backward opposite to the direction or pathway of the artery. that is known as recurrent. So anterior ulnar recurrent artery and posterior ulnar recurrent artery, they move upward and they will anastomose with the superior and inferior ulnar collateral arteries to give a alternate pathway for the blood. In the same way, on the lateral side, radial and middle collateral branches anastomose with the radial recurrent artery and interosseous recurrent artery, which are the branches of radial artery, and takes part in anastomosis around the elbow joint. So these are the branches of radial, and these are the branches of ulnar, and these are the branches of brachial. They form anastomosis around the elbow. Now the first terminal branch of the radial artery, as we have talked about that we have two branches of brachial artery, ulnar artery and radial artery. Radial artery in relation to the ulnar artery is a small terminal branch of brachial artery. It begins in the cubital fossa and passes below the brachioradialis muscle, which is the posterior compartment muscle but lies on the lateral aspect of the forearm. This radial artery rests on the deep muscles of the forearm in the middle of the pathway, and in the distal part of the forearm it lies on anterior surface of the radius directly. As we already know that the lower part of the radius is little bit bare area, we can feel it easily just on the lateral aspect just behind the wrist, the bone. So it lies just opposite to the bone in the distal part, and that is the area where we easily palpate the artery. So at wrist, it moves backward and passes anteriorly into the palm between the two heads of first dorsal interosseous muscle, and then it joins the deep branch of ulnar artery from the other side and form an arch which is known as deep palmar arch. So that is the pathway of the radial artery. So here we can see the radial artery after taking origin at cubital fossa, it passes anterior to brachioradialis and then passes on the anterior the deep muscles, and when it reaches over here, it is just opposite to the radial bone, and then it goes on backward and goes deep and connect with the deep branch of the ulnar artery and make a arch-like structure. This is an arch-like structure, and this is known as deep palmar arch. And its branches are muscular branches to the surrounding muscles, recurrent branch to the anastomosis for elbow joint, and superficial branch just at the level of the wrist, which joins the ulnar artery to form superficial palmar arch. So in the later presentation slides, we will discuss the superficial deep palmar arch, and it gives two other branches as radialis indicis and princeps pollicis. So radialis indicis, as the name is indicating, radialis on the radial side, indicis for the intestine, and princeps pollicis, major artery is going toward the thumb. So these all are the branches of radial artery. Regarding the ulnar artery, it is a large terminal branch of the brachial artery and begins in the cubital fossa and descends through the anterior compartment of forearm. It enters the palm in front of flexor retinoculum. Already yesterday in the palm lecture we have discussed this point that it lies outside the carpal tunnel, and it ends by forming superficial palmar arch with superficial branch of radial artery. It gives muscular branches again to the surrounding muscles, recurrent branches to make anastomosis around elbow, and a deep branch to join with the radial artery and form deep palmar arch. And a very important branch it gives, which is known as common interosseous artery, which further divisible into anterior interosseous and posterior interosseous. Anterior interosseous runs anterior to the interosseous membrane to the anterior compartment deeply, and posterior interosseous passes behind the interosseous membrane and supply the posterior compartment of forearm. So here we have ulnar artery arises, and then just after its origin it gives a common interosseous artery. So a very small common interosseous artery in terms of its length, and as this artery arises it divides into two branches, and through this gap the posterior interosseous artery passes on the back or posterior compartment, and anterior interosseous artery run in the middle of the forearm to supply the muscles. And the ulnar artery moves towards the medial side, passes superficial to flexor radiculum as you can see, and it connects with the superficial branch of the radial to form superficial branch. That is the ulnar artery. So here you can see the common interosseous, its anterior interosseous branch, and this is the posterior view. From here you can see this posterior interosseous artery is emerging out and passing towards the back of the forearm to supply the muscle of the posterior part. So the major supply to the forearm is through the ulnar artery branches as compared to radial. So here we can see the terminal branches of the radial and ulnar. This is the area of the wrist. So this radial artery, this is the area where we will palpate this area, the artery, because it lies over the bone directly, as compared to the ulnar, which is a little bit deeper. And if you can see, this radial artery is divisible into two terminal branches. One is superficial and one is deep, and the same way the ulnar is superficial and deep. Superficial of the ulnar meet with the superficial of radius to form superficial palmar arch, and deep branches of both will form the deep palmar arch. And here you can see the radial artery gives two branches. One is towards the thumb, that is princeps pollicis, and second towards the lateral aspect of the index finger, that is radialis indicis. So 1.5 digit of the hand is supplied by radial artery mainly, and 3.5 digit is supplied by ulnar branches through the palmar arches that we are going to discuss now. So remember, 1.5 lateral part of the hand is supplied by radial, and 3.5 medial on the palmar aspect is supplied by the ulnar artery. So we start with now the deep palmar arch. So we name it as palmar because it lies on the palmar aspect. Deep because we have two, one is superficial, another is deep, and arch because it makes the arch like a structure. Now the criteria of superficial and deep is that we have to keep in mind the long flexor tendons. So the arch which is forming superficial to flexor tendon is a superficial palmar arch, and the arch forming just posterior to the long flexors is a deep palmar arch. So deep palmar arch is actually a direct continuation of radial artery, as we have said that radial artery divides into two, superficial and deep branch. So deep branch is basically the main radial artery. So it is a direct continuation of radial artery, deeply placed in the palm in front of the metacarpal bones and interosseous muscles. The arch on the medial side is completed by the deep branch of the ulnar artery. So main part of deep palmar arch is formed by radial artery, and it connects with the deep branch of the ulnar to complete the arch. It gives palmar branches to the palm, metacarpal branches to the metacarpal bones, perforating and recurrent. Recurrent will go back to wrist to supply the wrist joint area, and perforating will perforate. Perforating means piercing. They will pierce the palmar aspect and go towards the dorsal side and supply the dorsal. Those are known as perforating branches. So here you can see the radial artery when it passes a superficial branch which is cut off, and deep branch which is some much thicker. That's why we say that this is the direct continuation of the artery meets with the, this is the main ulnar artery, and its terminal deep branch will move, and if you can see, you can directly see the bone and the interossea muscles. So this arch lying just over the interossea as well as metacarpal bones, and from here it gives different branches which supply the palm. So we can see the palmar metacarpal arteries to supply the carpal bones. You can see the perforating arteries which are perforating the muscles going toward the dorsal side and supplying as dorsal metacarpal arteries, and also they are going to supply the radialis indicis and princeps pollicis. These two already we have discussed. That is deep palmar arch. The superficial palmar arch is a direct continuation of the ulnar artery and superficially placed in palm in front of the long flexor tendons. And the arch on the lateral side is completed by the superficial branch of radial artery, and it gives four digital arteries. So here we go. Now, as we have said that the superficial branch of the radial artery moves forward anterior to the long flexor. So deep is lying below the flexors and superficial is lying superficial to the flexors. And the ulnar artery, because it is a major part, is going to form this artery. So this is the direct continuation of the ulnar artery, and they meet with the superficial branch of radial to form the superficial palmar arch. And this superficial palmar arch will give the branches which are known as common palmar digital arteries, which move forward and supply the 3.5 digits medial. These three medial digits and medial side of the index finger, along with the palmar digital artery. So these are the branches of superficial palmar arch. So that is all about the blood arterial supply of the upper limb, starting from the axillary artery, which is a continuation of subclavian artery, passes when it reaches to the outer border of the or border of the anterior major, it becomes brachial artery, and brachial artery will move forward, and at cubital fossa it divides into radial and ulnar. Radial will move toward the lateral side and medial will move forward. Medially the ulnar artery will move, they move forward. When they reach at the list just below, they divide into superficial and deep branches. Superficial branches will connect together and form the superficial palmar arch, and deep branches will connect together and form the deep palmar arch. Another differentiating point between superficial and deep palmar arches, that superficial palmar arch is more distally formed as compared to the deep palmar arch, which is proximally. So this is proximal in relation to the trunk, and this is distal. And they will ultimately supply the hand. This is the scheme of distribution. So here we are more concerned with the branches of the axillary. So we start with the heart. The heart has three parts of the aorta, main branches. A main branch of heart, the aorta has three branches: ascending aorta, which gives coronary arteries to heart itself. The arch of the aorta will give three branches: brachus pallidum, left common carotid, and left subclavian. So brachus pallidum on the right side will give right brachus pallid, right subclavian, and right common carotid. Right subclavian will continuous as axillary. Axillary will continuous as brachial. Brachial will divide into radial and ulnar. Radial and ulnar will again divide into superficial and deep branches and form superficial palmar arch and deep palmar arch. Deep palmar arch will supply palmar metacarpal branches and branches to the index finger, lateral side, and thumb. And superficial palmar arch will give common palmar digital branches and right proper palmar branches to the medial and four digits. On the left side, the subclavian artery is directly arising from the arch of aorta, not like on the right side that it is a branch of brachus pallid, but on the left, arch of aorta gives direct subclavian, and subclavian will ultimately continue as axillary, and the rest of the supply is same. That is the schematic distribution of the upper limb supply. And this is the last slide, which is showing that in axilla we can palpate the axillary artery or axillary pulse. At the mid of the arm we can palpate the brachial artery. Then at the elbow we can palpate the brachial artery just with the with the tendon of biceps brachii. So in relation of biceps brachii, the lateral side we palpate the radial artery, and on the medial side at the wrist we palpate the ulnar artery. So the most common area of pulsation is the radial artery because it is superficial and against the bone. So it is easier to palpate as compared to the other branches. So mainly we use for the palpation the radial artery, or for the pulse we use radial artery, and for blood pressure we use brachial artery. So this is all about the overview of upper limb arteries and their supply. Thank you very much. If you have any question, you can email me. Thank you. Bye.